started. Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. Okay. My name is Amie, Konwinski, and I'll be with you for the next hour answering your questions, talking about social media and some other fun and interesting things. So welcome to Navigating the Complexity of Social Media. Again, my name is Amie Konwinski. A little bit about myself. I am a naval veteran. I spent 14 years in the United States Navy as a Chief Petty Officer installing computer software and hardware all over the world. I'm also the mother of 5 daughters. So I'm a media use expert from the fact that I've been on social media literally since it started. I started online in 1984 when I went to Omaha North High School. And I have these 5 daughters that I've seen from the opposite side of being a parent and seeing how social media can affect students. And I'm also the founder and CEO of Smart Gen Society. We're an Omaha-based nonprofit located just right up the street there, and we work all over the country. So a little bit about ourselves. Our mission is to empower smart choices in a digital world. We are the first nonprofit in the United States to work around digital devices and in this space. And really our idea is that we can use these devices and have them for positivity. We're pro-tech. However, there's some things that kind of can happen with social media. So we've been, again, first in market for the whole country. So our impact since we started, we have now surpassed 100,000 students, parents, and educators that we've educated. And tomorrow is our 7th anniversary. So we're still pretty young, so we're pretty excited about that. We are now in 16 states, so right out of Omaha, Nebraska, we travel to the east and west coast, all over the country with our curriculum. And we also, again, we've been around for a little bit, and now we're partnering with some amazing partners like Meta and Google and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the FBI, DHHS. So we have some really great partnerships that we built up along the way. Now, I want to tell you, as we're talking, there's going to be a lot of questions that come up because this is technology. And I don't know if you know this, technology moves really fast, right? Every day you open up the CNN or HuffPost or whatever you're reading, Fox News, and you see something else has changed, especially AI, ChatGPT, things are changing. So I'm gonna invite you to take pictures, ask questions. I wanna make this a conversation, not just me kind of spewing information to you. So, our purpose, and there's a growing need for this education. We have 3 purposes as a nonprofit. We improve mental health of all the clients that we work with. We want to stop digital exploitation of children, especially around online exploitation of child sexual abuse materials. And finally, we empower safe, private, and on-brand social media usage. So again, we're tech positive. We go into a school and we talk to students about, we know social media is important to you. Here's how you utilize it in your best interest. So there's a growing need for what we're doing. And I started seeing this about 2013. I started noticing one of my daughters, she was in show choir, in a local show choir, and I was helping with a costume mom. How many of you have things like that you have to do? Costume moms, soccer moms, different things. I was helping my daughter with her, all of her friends' costumes, taking measurements and everything else. And what I noticed is out of 60 girls we took measurements for, 15 of them had major scarring from self-harm on their thighs, their arms. And I started noticing this, and my kids go to Millard West High School, so I'm kind of what is happening here? Started noticing the impact of social media and those screens to kids' mental health. So we also know that right now today, 56% of 5-year-olds now own their own device. Now how many of you are parents of little ones, between 5 and 10? How early did they start asking for a device? About 5, earlier, sometimes later and earlier. How about for your kiddos that are in grade school? What time or what age did they start asking for phones? 5th grade? How about back here, what do they say? Middle school? So right now, 10 years old is the average to get a smartphone. So when we think of your clients, and you think of what they've been raised in, they've been raised in a digital technology center, and it might not be those kids that get those devices. They might not get a a brand new, iPhone 14. They might have a parent's old device. They might have an old iPad, but they have access to information that they don't know how to calculate what they should be going to do with that. We also know that 94% of high schoolers are using social media. Can you guys guess what the most popular social medias are? Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram. We're going to talk about all 3 of those briefly today. We're also seeing a rise in Discord. We're seeing, WhatsApp as kids are traveling if they have family out of the country. And so many apps start, and we're talking a little bit about interactive gaming. So that Roblox, the Minecraft, the different things that seems like it's safe for kids, but sometimes it's not, right? So, in the United States right now, the average American teen spends 10 hours and 45 minutes a day on screen time. That's combined screen time. How many of you have teenagers? You walk into the room, teenager has a TV on, their laptop open, and their phone out. Have you seen that before? That's what we call combined, like screen stacking, right? So if you just look at overall, how much time are they looking at a screen, it's over 7 hours. But if you look at that screen stacking, it's about 10 hours and 45 minutes. Now we know that a healthy amount of screen time for social media is 2 hours. Can you imagine some of the effects that we're seeing because of that? Because we see so much kids on that social media. And finally, our newest partner, we're a community education partner of National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. But what they've seen, especially since the pandemic, the online rise of exploitation has gone up 97.5%. And just to give you an idea of how many images that is, in 2019, there was 65 million reported images of CSA, child sexual abuse material. They think that only about 3% actually becomes reported. Now what we know is, because these devices are being introduced so early and so young, it could be a peer or a predator in a pocket, in a room, at night, alone with your kiddos. So our goal is to have open communication between students, parents, and educators, because we believe proactive education is the #1 way that we can get to all those things we talked about on that previous slide. So how do we do it? We spend about 70% of the time we do on proactive education. We have programming for both students, parents, and adults, K through collegiate. We travel all over the country. We do in-school curriculum, community workshops, and we have now an SGS mobile tech lab where we can actually come to your community with our iPads and show parents how to set up settings for safety on their devices. We have a deep dive into TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram and how they can set those things up. So it's like really getting that active what parents can help with. We also do digital wellness. So we have intervention consulting for any of your clients that have issues with their technology. We do social media and tech audits. We have 5 trained mediators on staff so we can mediate between single or multiple families. We do a lot of work with CASA, with court appointed. If they have 2 parent households that can't decide what to do with digital technology, we can sit down and mediate that. And the last thing we do is we keep up on the research and resources that help you. And being a nonprofit, that's all things that are just available on our website at all times. We update it daily, and we do a lot of this research to try to be the latest and greatest of what's happening in the tech world to help you understand how to speak with your clients. So, we're going to talk about today 3 things. First, we're going to talk about a snapshot of our digital world, kind of the impact of what's happening with digital media and social media and having these phones in our pockets 24/7. We're also going to talk about the impact of social media with our youth and what that looks like. And finally, how do we support digital youth for their digital lives? All right, so let's first take a snapshot of the digital world. Now, before we get started on this, I want to know something about you. What is your relationship like with this little device in your pocket? Are you a zero-out person, meaning that you have to have all your emails and everything read? Or can you handle having 83 unread emails and 4 unread text messages? How many of you are zero out? You're like, that gives me anxiety, Amy, shut your face, I don't want to hear that. How many of you are like, I could care less, it's there when I need it, right? So that's what we call digital wellness. The fact that we have this phone in our pocket doesn't mean we have to be connected all the time. It allows us to be out and about of our offices, out and doing our casework, and if we need to get to our email, it's there. However, it doesn't mean we have to be attached to it all the time. So let's take a snapshot of what our cost is of having this in our device in our pocket all the time. So think about your social media usage. Now, during this conversation, I'm going to talk about a couple different buckets. First, we're going to talk about you and how you interact with your social media. And then we're going to apply that to your clients and perhaps the kids in your family, whether they're your own kids, your caregivers, or you have nieces, nephews, grandkids, whatever that is. So think about your cost of being constantly connected, right? So you pay actual tangible dollars. But our cost to being connected all the time to social media is threefold. It costs us our data, it costs us our privacy, and it costs us our mental health. Now let's step through this. How many of you have been on Facebook since 2008? Right? We're long-term users. We're yeah, Zuckerberg, let's just take all my information and do what you need to with it, right? Each of us that have just one social media account, or you use Google, you have a computer, you talk in front of your phone, they have about 700 data points about you that they know, including your name, address, phone number, your kid's name, where you work, how you get there, What did you watch on Netflix last month? Are you pro-LGBTQ? Are you pro whatever that is? And they notice, they take all the information and they sell it to advertisers and they make money. Each of us in here are worth $91 a month to social media companies just existing in the space. And just, it doesn't have to be something we type in either. How many of you have had a conversation in front of your phone and then had an ad for that? And you're like, come on, right? It happened to me recently. I was talking to my husband and I'm like, I really want to go to New Zealand. Just having a conversation. Guess what came up within 30 seconds on my phone? Trips to New Zealand, like all the different things. Next is our privacy cost. Now those of you that said you had teenagers, if your teenager meets somebody interesting that they want to get to know, are they going to give them their cell phone number or their Snapchat username? Snapchat, how come?
Privacy.
It's privacy? They think it's privacy, right?
Yeah.
They think it's like, it's easier, like they can block them. And they also think that cell phone numbers is too invasive. Like some of them don't even want to answer the phone. Have you noticed this, right? They can't even do that. So we know our privacy costs, so I already mentioned the top 3 apps, one of them is Snapchat. Privacy with just Snapchat. With Snap Maps, if a student's Snapchat isn't turned to ghost mode, they're sharing their location down to 20 feet on the planet down to the minute, if they don't have that ghost mode turned on. And Snapchat is still tracking them and selling their location to others. I'm going to pick on Snapchat in a little bit here, but I want you to think about 2 things. Snapchat AI and the new subscription plus model. So you can actually follow people's ghost trails and see where they've been for a 24-hour period, all right? I'm not making any of this up. It's creepy. Next, it's your home address that goes along with that. So every time we upload a picture on Instagram, Snapchat, whatever that is, if you don't have the locations shut off on that individual app, your location is put into that HTML of that photograph. You can find it really easy, and you can actually just kind of look at the device and kind of, or the picture and see kind of where you are. And finally, it's the information we are voluntarily putting in our bios and our usernames. Now, one of the things I really push on for students is never to have your first and last name as your username, because most of our students have that, right? They get that Minecraft and they're like, Amie Konwinski, I'm 9, and I'm like, living in Omaha, Nebraska. So right away, the FBI tells us that we're 6 clicks from being found in real life based upon what we put on our social media. So when we talk to students, a big one is their privacy and how that works and usernames and what they put on their locations. Now that final cost, so I said there's 3 costs: data, privacy, and the last one is mental health. Now, many of you are working in mental health right now, whether you're working directly with services on mental health, but you are seeing the effects of some of the decline of mental health. So we know that studies are showing if you spend more than 2 hours a day on social media, it can affect 3 things. First of all, lack of sleep. How many of your kids are exhausted? How many teachers in this room? Kids come to school and they just cannot even keep up. They're emotionally and physically exhausted. Lack of exercise, because they're not moving around, they're sitting in there on those socials. And finally, lack of actual one-on-one human connection. Have you noticed the loss of empathy? Have you noticed there's just a pure apathy of students that they're like, you can't tell me anything. I'm in 3rd grade and I can Google it, right? That's kind of like where we're at. So this is pretty significant. So some of the impacts of that social media that we're seeing for students. And before I get into this next part, I want you guys to think back. You guys remember the game 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon? Yeah. How many of you in here don't know who Kevin Bacon is? It's like Timothy Chalamet for today. Okay, he was our Timothy Chalamet. We were really into Kevin Bacon. Like the first Footloose movie, he was super cute. Anybody in you got some Gen Xers in here? He was like the coolest guy. So there was this game called 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. The idea is that everybody in the world can be connected through movies with Kevin Bacon. I'm here to tell you Nebraska, Omaha and Lincoln, and all of Nebraska is a 1-degree city or state. I bet out of all of us, we could find within 1 degree a connection to somebody else just being in this room, right? So keep that in mind when I talk about the 1 degree. Your kids are dealing with people that they know that are going through this. So what we're seeing right now is by using more than 2 hours of social media a day, it's been tied to higher anxiety. Are you seeing this? That just generalized anxiety disorder. A big one is the FOMO, the fear of missing out. If you have a 12-year-old daughter and she has Instagram, you might notice that I wasn't invited to a party and everybody posts the picture and it's the tears and why wasn't I good enough, right? It goes straight to that. Feelings of that social anxiety. And the big one is the inability to sit and be socially awkward. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that for adults?
Yeah.
Right? It used to be we'd stand in line at the grocery store and we could like talk to people. Like, wasn't that weird? Like make eye contact and like, hey, how's your day? You doing okay? But now we're like on our phones, like checking our things. Maybe we'll read up, but we don't make eye contact. But this is a really big thing. I mean, we've seen the attention span go from 12 seconds to 9 seconds just in the last 10 years. We're also seeing cyberbullying. 1 in 4 students are reporting being cyberbullied every month. 25% of our student population is reporting monthly being cyberbullied. And the reason why it can be so difficult is because many times it goes undetected and it can be anonymous. And they can't escape. Do you remember being in middle school? I'm 50, okay? When I was in middle school, I came home and I like maybe watched a half an hour of Gilligan's Island and like Fred Flintstone. And then I went outside and played. And I didn't have to think or look at the faces of my classmates until the next day. And it was awesome. It was so good. Our kids will never know that. They are connected 24/7 and they are on all the time. So if they feel like they're not posting enough relative content, they're feeling like they're out of the place. If they're not seeing what other people are doing, they're feeling out of it. So they feel pressure to keep up with it. So it's not as easy as just telling kids, well, just don't do it. Just put your devices down. They can't. They need to be socially connected this way. Next, we know that things the way that students are spending their time looks significantly different than it used to. So if we take a look at the last, what we call the students in the smart gen, born after like 1995, we've seen substantial spikes in symptoms around 2011, right when Twitter and Facebook started kind of becoming popular, all right? So this information that I'm telling you, we can't pinpoint it and correlate it all to social media. You can't. We don't live in a vacuum. But what we can say is social media is a huge part of it. I think the 24-hour news cycle is a huge part of it. Being like voyeuristic TV and the Kardashians is a part of it. Like if you ask a kid what they want to do when they grow up, what do they say? Influencer. I want to be famous. I want to be a YouTuber, right? I want to be a gamer. Like all these things. So times have changed how students are spending their fundamental downtime. So if you take a look at these 2 pictures, many times students will come home from school or come home from wherever it is, and they self-isolate, they go in their room, they lay in their bed, they're on their phone and they're scrolling for hours at a time. It looks a lot like a person with depression. And if you start acting and behaving with a person that has like what it looks like to have depression, many times that can lead to depression, right? So it's behavioral. It's something that they're doing and it's something they get stuck in. Also, there's the dopamine hits. Every time we pick up that phone, we get that little like happy thing of like, oh, people are talking about us. People have liked my photos. That is something that is addictive. So these are things that they're kind of dealing with. Any questions? Okay, I want you to feel free to be like, Amy, talk more about that. Okay, so depression. Higher social media usage is tied to depression, feelings of isolation, loneliness, which is ironic, the idea that social media is going to like bring us all together. It's actually making us feel like more separated and apart. And that lower self-esteem and suicidal ideation. So, suicide. Unfortunately, right now we know that second leading cause of suicide between ages 10 to 14, and the third leading cause of young people between 15 and 24. And we've seen this gone up every year since social media has been around. Now this is some data that we got from CDC. By the way, I'm a data nerd. Any other data nerds in here? Just like information? Hey girl, how you doing? Going to share Excel spreadsheets. Okay, so what we did is we went out and we looked at the CDC, we looked at some of the youth surveys that have come out, and you can see the rise of the completed suicides all the way up to experiencing persistent sadness and hopelessness. Look at this rise as we've gone down. So right here, this is a big one. This is what they call the hope factor. 42% of students are saying that they feel persistent sadness and hopelessness in 2021. Now this number, 42%, is way different if we pull out males from females. So if you look at females, 57% of our females have felt hopeless, and 29% of males. Now what we've seen with our research over the last 7 years is about 75% of social media users are, guess what? Female. About 25% are male, kind of like what they put into it. And we kind of flip that for gaming. A lot of like about 75% of males gaming, 25% of females. So we see this as a very dramatic number of like our kids just not being happy. So this is directly from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, and I want to point out this. So this is the average of all these different areas. We look at male to female. You look at LGBTQIA folks, 69% of those kids are feeling hopeless more than 2 week period a year. And it gets especially, those numbers rise as they have contact and sexual contact with others. Any questions with this? Okay. So, what are we going to do? We're not getting rid of social media. It's not going away anytime soon. They love it. We love it. How many of us are on it? Like TikTok, and you get on, you're like, I'm going to just do 5 minutes. And then you're on, the book talk. You're like, what do I need to read next? And then like this, you're an hour later. So, now back to your bucket. Every single thing that you do on social media becomes part of your brand. Everything that you post, follow, like, click, tweet, retweet, draft, make, that is your brand online. And students are seeing that and they're being fed that as their social media, algorithms are feeding them the information. So we know that 3 things exist for bottom line for students. And as we go into schools, we're finding this first one. So the minimum age for social media is 13 because of our COPPA laws, the Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act. And right now they're talking about raising that to 16, and I think it's actually a really good idea. However, we go into OPS schools and 75% of 3rd graders are already on social media. And they're way under 13, right? So we already know this isn't working. Parents don't have the information of like, why shouldn't I let my kids be on this social media? We also know that there's no privacy in social media. We give up the expectation of right of privacy when we choose to use it. And finally, social media is forever. There's certain apps that last longer than others. For example, TikTok never goes away. We don't know what they're doing with the videos, but even if it's in draft mode, they own the intellectual property of your videos in draft. They own those and they're never going away. So when somebody runs for president one day, there will be a TikTok video someday when they come out, like 10 years from now, 15 years from now. So our Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act, what it says is no company can collect data on anybody under 13. So we're trying to raise that to 16. But this is why you have to be 13 to have a YouTube profile, to have most social medias like Instagram and Snapchat, and to do most multiplayer gaming like Fortnite and Discord or Roblox. And the Discord's not a gaming app, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. So what we know is that parents are following these rules and students aren't. So right away, as soon as they start getting into the pool of social media, their information is being shared and sold just like others, and their long-term brand is being created earlier and earlier. So let's talk about a few of these. TikTok. Show of hands, how many of us are on TikTok? Awesome. How many of you love it? I'll raise my hand. I love TikTok. I do this for a living. So some things to kind of think about on TikTok. Drafts are forever. Drafts and videos are forever. So what we see from students is they go out and they like create things on TikTok and they put them up there and they want to delete them. It's really hard to delete it once it's gone because once it's in the public spectrum, we don't know what's happening with it. Also, a lot of students are giving away their information of where they are based upon what's in their videos. So think about the students that are taking videos in locker rooms, and even the ones that have like, people getting dressed behind them, they're just not paying attention, they're like, I'm cute, look at me in the mirror, and then there's something happening behind them. So it can really feed into some negative bad habits and open the door for dangers. So I mentioned our tech lab. So we had this tech lab that we were like, okay, let's do some research on this. We set up a couple of our devices as a 13-year-old girl on TikTok. And within 2 minutes, and we just said that, what our interests were. What were our interests, Ellie, that we put on there?
Like, I don't know, movies or something. Like, it's, I don't know, maybe one sport or something really basic.
Really basic. And within 2 minutes, we had not only exploitation, but we had like how you can lose weight and like what's wrong with your weight and like what you look like, feeding into the TikTok algorithm to girls. And that's without even having anything built up. So imagine when you're looking at TikTok and you start to like follow things. Like I got into a little tiny house like area where I was looking at tiny houses, and then all of a sudden TikTok's like, oh my gosh, you like tiny houses. And everything was tiny houses, right? The algorithm feeds how long you watch something and what you're interested in, or what they think you're going to be interested in based on your demographics. And there's a lot of off-brand challenges that can go wrong. For example, the Kia challenge. Any of your clients dealing with the Kia challenge? Some idea, they're like, you know what would be amazing? If you could steal a car with USB and then make a video about it. and upload it for clout. And these kids are like, that sounds amazing. Is this the thing that you've got
I
in?
have a Kia boy that's graduating my program.
A Kia boy.
He's like, I'm a Kia boy.
Yeah. Yeah. So in Omaha, OPD, they have over 145 car thefts based on this Kia challenge every month. Every month. So you're dealing with this. So like, you know, it's on social media, and like I mentioned, a lot of these kids, they just want to be viral. They want their chance. They want to be like famous. So this is what we've kind of created. All right, any questions with TikTok? Again, it's for 13 and above. It's not for third graders. Anything else? All right. So you're Kia boy, right? So we do crisis intervention. So if that happens, we can help them to kind of help like mitigate that. So if they're going to apply for colleges, scholarships, anything else, they're already going to have this record. But they can learn from it with restorative justice, and they can actually go forward. So those are some of the things that we can kind of help with. Instagram. So we know the three top: TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. So since the pandemic, child exploitation is up 97.5%. And unfortunately, predators are going to go to where they know kids are, right? And I don't know how many of you are following this on Instagram, but right now we're seeing an exponential amount of children that are being offered money to be people's friends online. Have you seen this? Yes. The sugar daddy and the sugar mommy messages. And what we find, so when we go into a school, we do pre and post surveys. We actually know what's happening in that school. So we developed a survey with Monroe Meyer Institute at UNMC in Omaha. And so we go in and we can actually see kind of what are the problematic media usage errors, or like things happening in the school. So what we're seeing is between 53% and 69% of children have been offered money to be people's friends online. Now, think about your clients. If they are home insecure, food insecure, if they're feeling that they could just use an extra $20, how many of them would actually kind of fall for that and say, well, it's just pictures of my feet? I've heard actually kids say this, it's just pictures of my feet. Any of you heard this before? Dealing with exploitation on that? So we think about like our culture that we've objectified and sexualized for so long in the last 20 years, that now students think it's normalized to sell pictures of their body parts. How long does it take it to actually get up to that CSAM? Not very long. Once they have one picture, they use it in leverage to sextort to get more pictures, and it usually ends badly for their mental health. So we have bad mental health outcomes. So this is the ease of use of Instagram. So I mentioned Meta is one of our partners. They pay us money to like go into schools and talk about them this way. We don't change anything. So one of the problems in Instagram right now is all you need to do is have somebody's username and you can send them a direct message. So I'm going to give you an example. Say you have a 13-year-old daughter on Instagram. You go onto Instagram, you go onto like a Just Girl project, which is one of my favorite accounts there. You go and see who's commented on that. You target somebody you want to send a message to, go to their site, see that their account is on private. Go here, send them a direct message. There are people online that all they do is send direct messages. Hey baby girl, I think you're so cute. I'd like you to be my sugar baby. I will pay you money just to be my friend, no sexual content. And kids fall for this, and it's a numbers game. So those predators will send out 100 messages a day, and usually between those 100 messages, 3 to 4 kids will come back and within a 24-hour period will share nudes of themselves with those predators online because, again, they don't know not to, and they also feel like, I could kind of use $20. So this is an issue we have, and especially if you have caregivers that are attached, you have parents that just are giving devices and they don't know what can happen. This is as easy as it gets. A lot of times I'll talk to students, and we do a lot of work like within faith-based communities, and I love like being in a Catholic church somewhere and saying like, you know what, penis. I say that a lot. And then I'll turn around and be like, sorry Jesus, like he's right there. But I'll say, if you're shocked that I'm saying, if you don't want your child to get a penis picture, if you're shocked to hear that, your kid's not ready for social media. Because if you can't talk about it, they're not gonna come tell you about it, and they're gonna be exploited online. So it's all about open, shame-free conversation. So that's part of what we teach in our parenting classes. So taking this into here, remember that Kevin Bacon thing, the 1 degree? I want you to know this, and I was fairly surprised when I dug this up. So this is the FBI report for Nebraska for sexual assault offenders. It is on a rise. Now, part of this is because it's getting reported more. So if you go to the FBI, like crime statistics, it's getting reported greater. But in 2021, there was over 4,000 sexual assault offenders arrested. Now, where it gets really interesting is, over the last 10 years, The majority of those victims, 60%, have been under the age of 19. 60% of our sexual assault victims are under the age of 19 for the last 10 years. And where are they many times finding people online? So they can go and they can see, oh, I see that we're Snapchat friends, you don't have your location shut off, and we've actually worked with people that have had, like, shown up because they see they're alone, and they show up at that location based upon their Snapchat location because their ghost mode's not turned on. So this is really alarming, like looking at that. So when we think, like, why aren't our kids okay? It's because they're 1 degree from somebody that this has happened to. They're 1 degree from somebody that have had, like, unsafe practices that they feel like they don't feel safe. And part of the allure of social media is they can find communities that make them try to feel safe. So they just want help, and that's positive. We want to give them that help. But what happens is something, too much of something is not always better of something. So let's talk about Snapchat. So some of the things that we see with Snapchat, obviously ghost mode has to be turned on. With this new Snapchat AI, your Snapchat AI has its own location services, and even if your ghost mode's turned on, Snapchat AI might be showing their location, which is the same as your location, because it's the same person. And all that content is traceable, and like, if you want to get rid of Snapchat AI, you have to now pay $3.99 a month to upgrade, and that's the only way that you can, like, shut that off, is actually, so they're kind of extorting people for $3.99 a month just to shut off that piece. The other thing that we know is they have this, like, fancy little area called My Eyes Only. Very few parents know about this. My Eyes Only was created by Snapchat to take pictures from your phone and put them on the cloud. It was literally created to keep pictures from significant others and parents. So it's a lot where the CSAM is being saved, and it's not on your phone, so you have to actually get in and see where their memories are, and you have to have the password to get in. So again, if a student isn't really talking to their caregiver, they're not having an open line of communication, this could be a place where they've been extorted, where they have pictures of other people. And we've actually worked one FBI case where a girl's Snapchat was hacked and her My Eyes Only was hacked, and they took nude pictures of her that she hadn't shared with anybody, but she thought that this was secure. Because it sounds secure, right? It's My Eyes Only. But Snapchat can see it. It's on their server. Like, it is not secure. So we really want students to know anything you put on any digital device, it can be compromised. So we want to make sure. Yes, ma'am?
So do you just ask them to go to, they know that folder or whatever?
Yep. Yep. So we just ask them, say, hey, are you using My Eyes Only in your memory?
Oh yeah, they know.
And then if they go to it, and usually, like, they'll say, well, if you're the kid and the mother, and they're like, Mother, I have no idea what my password is. For some reason in my mind, kids become British when they lie. It's just it's a thing that I have and I kind of deal with. Not that any of my kids are British, but But yes, they have to tell you the password. So if they don't tell you the password, you'll never know what's on it. And there's no way to get around it. So you have to have that open line of communication. So again, in our parenting session, we talk about talkable points, like how do you have those conversations? Yes?
And honestly, most parents don't know how to use their memories.
That's right. Most parents just don't know how to do it. That's why, like, some of our tech labs are going to be so great, because you can get them. Yeah. 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 So the question over here is, she's a mother, she has 4 kids, and even her 15-year-old, like, many parents don't know how to get into this, right? So they don't know where it's at. So not even that. They're playing memories, right? So that's another thing that we can do as a nonprofit. Call us, we walk you through it. I mean, just answer those questions for you. Totally free. We just answer questions all day long for parents that have issues with trying to get into stuff. Yeah, give us a call. Okay, any questions with Snap AI? Okay, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Okay, Discord. Really quickly, none of your kids under 18 should be on Discord. Can I get an amen? Amen. There you go. So the reason why is because there's so much exploitation that happens in Discord. Any of you Discord users? Would you suggest a 9-year-old in Discord? Absolutely not, right? So what Seth here is like, I'm old. I don't know what Discord is. Seth, I know I'm older than you, so I can say that. Okay, so Seth, Discord looks like AOL from the aughts. It's like a black screen with white, and you look at it and you get onto a server and you can talk to people on that server individually. The problem is everybody can have a server. So like PewDiePie, do you know who he is? He's a really popular user on YouTube. He's like a YouTuber. He has 1.5 million people on his server. So the problem is with Discord is anybody on that server, if you're a kid that goes onto it, anybody can send direct message, direct audio, direct video, ask them to chat, and it's like a playground for predators. So that's what Discord is. So this is an example of an actual Discord. So this is Ronnie Man, okay? Hi, I'm 13, is that okay? Isabel, yeah, I'm female 15 by the way, and Ronnie Man starts with, have you ever been with an older man before? It takes less than 10 minutes for online predators to sexualize a conversation, and it takes less than 49 minutes to ask to be met in real life. That's how fast it is. So Discord is such a problematic area. A lot of FBI will like watch what's happening on Discord, but Apple Store and Google Play threatened to kick them off of their stores if they didn't raise their age to 17 plus, because they had so much problematic behavior with younger kids. And it was really popular because you can go and you can watch other people play like games, which to me is like, ugh, like watching other people play like Minecraft is not what I want to do. But predators will go to where kids are. So this is kind of one of those issues with this area. So if you have questions about that, follow up with me. We'd be happy to have a conversation. So the last thing I want to talk about is this AI, artificial intelligence, and the ChatGPT. Just a kind of show of hands, I want to kind of see how we are. There was a CNN article yesterday that said 60% of CEOs believe that this is like the end of our civilization. Does anybody agree with that? Has anybody seen The Terminator or The Matrix? I mean, like, we've seen this movie before, right? It doesn't end well. So what we know is it's so new, and it is like the next biggest thing. It's going to be 10 times bigger than the internet. It's like, it is the next wave. But we know that ChatGPT is a major issue right now. So just 3 weekends ago, the National Eating Disorder website had to take their ChatGPT down because the ChatGPT started artificial learning, like self-learning, and started telling people chatting with it how they can lose weight by eating 500 calories a day. On the National Eating Disorder website. Artificial intelligence has the capability of learning on its own, and it like learns from everything that's out on the internet. Now the problem is, and I think we all know this, not all information on the internet is correct, right? So they don't know how to like say what's wrong and what's right. So it's actually been caught in creating their own sources to back up its lie. Like it's like getting really smart really fast. So if you want to learn more, there's 3 articles we've written from our nonprofit on our website right now in the last 2 weeks. So we constantly do this research. We're giving you like what we know right away. Okay.
So were you called a conspiracy theorist when you thought all this?
Was I called in 2013 when I was thinking about this?
Yeah.
I actually had one principal tell me, she's like, I don't have time for this. This is white noise. I'm like, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah. I got called that a lot when I said this was
this is gonna this could be a problem. So I don't, not so like I wasn't like a flat earther. Like,
well, no.
Very like flat. The world is round, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of just could be able to connect the dots, and I think it kind of helped because I've been literally in technology since I was 12, and I joined the military at 17. So I was on cutting edge technology at 17 years old for the TSSCI clearance and everything else. So I was able to take that and kind of see where it was going. Question back.
So I'm still in college, and ChatGPT, there's like a website that like I've actually never used it because I'm too scared I'm gonna get caught. But all of my friends use it to like do their homework, do their quizzes, do their tests.
Yeah. So that's this article right here. This first one is what you need to know as an educator, right? So what we're seeing, and we have 3 educators on our board right now, one at TSU, one at Penn State, and one at Central Michigan University. And what they're doing is they're actually taking away the ability for students to do tests outside the classroom, and they're back to blue books. They're adding out, so that those of you that don't know what blue books are, you literally have to write out your answers in a blue book. And they're numbered because there's so much cheating happening. So what's going to happen is that next wave of students coming in, they're going to have to learn how to write again, like everything else. So it is a big problem, right? Yeah. Thank you for adding. All right. We on. Okay. So supporting our digital youth. So some signs to look for. So these are things you can look for as a parent, as a caregiver, as for your clients. Some things that we see. So change in behavior. If you're seeing, so we're thinking of like problematic media usage. If you have a student that is kind of going downhill quick, you're like, what's happening? Changes in behavior is the first thing. Next, rejection of family and friends for spending time online. So if you're seeing a kid that wants to just like, I want to talk to you, I want to do this, you know, they have a hard time kind of looking up, that could be problematic. They don't want to give up access to passwords or devices, especially for parents. If they you know, walk in, you're like, what are you doing? And they get upset when they can't get online. Minimizing the screen when you walk in. This is a big one, right? This was kind of like in the aughts. We had like, Chad, did you do that stuff? What? Minimize the screen when your parents walked in? You never did it. So like a computer. Maybe you had like an Apple.
I know what a computer is.
Like a big it was like this big, right? No, so like being able to look for those things, and you really you know your kid, right? So you kind of know what's happening. Calling unknown numbers, that's a big one, like getting calls from unknown numbers. And then this is another one. Do they have access to money? You're like, where's the money coming from? So a lot of this online exploitation, they're getting Venmo'd, they're getting Apple Pay, they're getting PayPal, they're getting Amazon gift cards. If they're getting a lot of stuff, you're just not knowing where it's coming from. And then this is another one. Noticing a device on your Wi-Fi that you're not aware of. So, I'm here to tell you right now, I mentioned my teenagers back there. If you take away a kid's phone and they have snap streaks, they are not going to want to let those go. So what we suggest as a parenting suggestion is to give them 5 minutes a day to keep their streaks going. Because if they don't, they're going to give their password log on to somebody else, or they're going to have a hidden device that they've squirreled away and they bring it out. Yeah. Okay, so if they're grounded from their device, they get 5 minutes to just do it for the one time. Question right here.
Please dumb me down. I wasn't following.
What is a snap? Okay, so snap streak, for those of you who don't know, so Snapchat is the new, it's a social currency. So if you and I are Snapchat friends and we snap each other every day for a whole year, we have a snap streak of 365. That means we're better friends than everybody else in here in this room because we have the highest number. So it's my literary nerds in here. It's like the lines in Little Women. It's always something. It's being able to share something, and it's social currency. So for kids to get rid of that, it can be a real hit for their own their relationships. So what will happen is and we've seen this, they'll slide a device across in the cafeteria, and they'll just have a device that parents won't know about, and they'll be able to get on the Wi-Fi. So it doesn't have to have LTE, you can just have a device on Wi-Fi. Right. And do you know how many devices are in your house right now? Think about all the old phones in your house, in drawers and everything else, right? So kids can get on it, they're gonna find a way. Any other questions? Has any of your kids done that before? I've done it. You've done it. She's like, me. It's me. I'm the problem, it's me. Right here. Okay, so how can we protect our children's physical safety and privacy? So 3 things to take away. First thing is, your kids' names should never be their usernames. So I don't want to see usernames up until about junior, senior year in high school. You might have, especially if you have an athlete, they might have coaches or colleges following them, so they might want to have accounts, so we can kind of talk through that. But when they're in grade school and middle school especially, they should not have their bios, what school they go to, where they hang out, what their volleyball team is. All of their accounts should be set to private, and they should turn off location in the individual apps. So I don't want to turn it off on the phone because then your Life 360 or your Find My iPhone won't work. But you can shut it off in the individual apps, and that's the safest thing you can do for your kids. Now somebody asked me, I have 2 questions. Is it still just the 2 questions in the thing?
Check again, but
2 questions I was asked, and I think they're about the same. They said, what app will help me spy on my kids, track my kids, to know what they're doing? I'm here to tell you, it doesn't exist. Out of all the things like Bark, Life 360, different things, none of them is going to show you snap streaks. Do you think your kids text? They don't text. That's for Seth. That's everybody else is Snapchatting. Okay? So your kids you're Snapchatting. They're not texting. I'm sorry. I'm gonna give you some. Seth said I was right. My favorite words. Okay, so they're not being able to do it. So there's no app that can show what they're doing on their technology. So the best thing that you can do is have open lines of communication with your kids that they can come and tell you anything. So when I talk to parents, I talk about this acronym ALAS, being able to, when they come to you with problems, that you're gonna, like, with a poker face, not shame or blame them, and you're gonna acknowledge, listen, ask questions, and support what's happening with them. Because the worst thing you can do is be like, oh my gosh, we're becoming on mission moving to Pennsylvania. Like, your kids won't come to you because they're afraid their devices are gonna be taken away. So we need that open line of communication that they can come and tell you anything. Now, think about that for not only their online privacy, but their bodily autonomy. If something happens to them, you want them to come and tell you anything, and there's not gonna be shame behind it. So think about that in their devices. So what do we do to promote some healthy usages? So there's a big area of like all the things that our kids need to do to be like mentally healthy. Now, Dr. Tara Suit, she's actually a psychologist, she's our board president. She kind of reframed this for me a little differently, and I like this. So this idea that we have all this time in the world, like everybody has the same amount of time. Don't think of like what is going to be your social media time first. Don't think like 2 hours a day and that's it, because what it's doing is making social media the most important piece of that circle. Think of all the other things that you need to do to be successful. Go to work, do homework, do family chores, being able to like, go to your faith-based community. And what's left over is your socialize, and some of that is going to be social media. But it's not going to take the place of like actually hanging out with people in real life, because we know that that's not a substitute. So some other things you can do. Just put your device down and breathe sometimes. I know many of us, and me included, have too many hours on my social media, some weeks and some weeks I'm better. But being able to just sit down and breathe and just be in the space. Implement mental health check life offline. So how are you feeling? Being able to name that. Being able to see kind of like if I'm not feeling well. And if you're not feeling well that week, go back and look at how much time you spent on your socials. Because I bet there's a direct correlation between how much sleep you got, how much time you spent on the socials, and how you're feeling. There's some things you can do online. One of my favorites is Instagram, shutting off your likes. Have any of you done this? So you know like when you post something online, it'll show you like how many people have liked it? Shut that off. We don't need that anymore. Like, that's 3 years ago. Today, it's all about like, I give this gift to the world. Look at this fantastic picture of, Acadia National Park. Enjoy. I don't care how many of you like it. Like, if you want to like it, great. But I also don't have to look at the likes that other people have gotten. So for students where they're comparing themselves, and they see the most popular kid in school got 150 likes on her selfie, and I only got 10. Instead of feeling like, I don't feel good about myself, I wasn't as cute as I thought, you just like, it's again, you're doing it, and it's not for the likes. Also, for our students, they need to know they can mute accounts. There's a huge backlash if they block somebody or unfriend somebody, but they can mute them, and that person will never know. It's a great little secret, especially if they feel like I'm just not liking what you're laying down lately. They can mute them for a while, and that person will never know that they've muted them.
I like unfollow.
It's kind of like unfollow, but it's not unfollow. They're still following them, but the other person will never know, and nobody else will know. And so like if you and if I mute you, I'm not gonna see any comment you make on anybody else's account. It's just like you're just invisible for a while, which is nice for my mental health perhaps. I don't know. You must be a loving person, but like that's just giving you as an example. I'm not gonna mute you, we're not on social media friends. Okay. So behavioral activation, so things you can do for your family. So first of all, getting off your phones and doing actual activities, right? This is the best time of the year to get out and like do stuff, go for walks, enjoy nature. Scheduling things. So if you're a family that like, you're like, I don't know what to do. My kids always learn early on not to tell me they're bored. I'm like, awesome, this laundry needs to be folded, right? So then they stop saying that pretty quickly. And then I love this coping box. Have a group of things that you can do in your house that you can like do things other than being on social media. So hobbies, projects, whether that's kinetic, artistic, being able to like find things. There's just different things you can do to make sure that it's like tech-free. So some tech usage, modeling good behavior. If you're a parent, your kids are going to watch what you do with your social media, right? So one of the things I remind parents, when your kid walks in the room, put your device down and make eye contact with them. Like welcome them into the room. Know that they need to know they're more important than what's happening on your email or on your device. Encourage that awareness for screen usage. Turn on your screen time if you haven't already. It'll tell you kind of what's happening with your screen time. And finally, have time that's tech-free in your family. So on Saturday, we're about to like go on another crazy adventure. So every year, me and my husband and my kids, we take a 2-week road trip. And this year we're going to Acadia National Park in Maine. We're camping. And then we're doing like Boston and New York and all the other stuff. We have all like no phone times during that. So even if like we're around the park, it's like we're not on social media, we're just connecting with each other. But you can do that during mealtime. You can have family game nights. Make sure the people that you're with know that they're the most important to you and not just like what's happening out on the social media. remember, the last thing I want to talk about is if a child is exploited online, some things to keep in mind. So first of all, if a child or your child is exploited online, it is never their fault. They are the victim. I don't care if they made a 30-second bad decision and they self-created CSAM, they were coerced into doing it, they were tricked into doing it, they would not just like decide to do that day. Also, the parents aren't to blame for the children's behavior on technology. This is really big because we need to take shame and blame out of it to make sure we can get these reports up and make sure that we can actually go after and get some convictions from some of these people. And open communication and trust are needed in order to restore digital wellness. So you can take a picture of this. This is what to do if a child is exploited online. So first of all, do not delete the message or the account. Don't tip off the predator. If you want to put the device in airplane mode, and if you're a child, you want to tell a trusted adult, and you can contact Smart Gen Society or directly to the FBI. Now the reason this is if you go straight to the FBI and now you're local law enforcement, I don't know if any of you have dealt with this with local law enforcement, many times they take the device and you don't see it again, or it can be years before you see it, right? If you call us and our friends over at the FBI that we work with, if they decide that it's something that they want, they can go after, they'll keep your device for 2 or 3 days and you get the device back. Also, we can help mitigate and roadmap through online exploitation, working directly with National Center for Missing and Exploited Kids and using the Take It Down tool, so we can help you with that. And we can help you roadmap through exploitation for help assist to report to law enforcement all the way through prosecution. So our digital wellness services is about 30% of what we do. We have intervention consulting, so we do brand and device audits. This is really big. Sometimes it can be real positive. Like if you have an athlete that's going to school and you want to see what their online brand is to like make sure they get the scholarship they want, we can help them with that. We have family and caregiver digital plans. We also do conflict resolution mediations. We have restorative youth conferencing. We do digital co-parenting plans and consultative mediation. And then we do that crisis road mapping. So what do you do in a digital crisis if something goes wrong? Any of your clients can call us, we can help them. We are fee-based, very low fee, and we don't ever turn anybody away. We have the funding from Ogier, we have funding from Kim Foundation and some others that we utilize that, Meta and some of them that's funded that. So this is the time where you can get some of these tools and take them home with you. We also have some back here. So this is our download screening question. So this is great for if you're a provider, if you're a mental health provider or a clinician. Nebraska Academy of Pediatrics uses this. But it's a digital screening question for minors and for caregivers for problematic media usage. So if you do that QR code right there, it'll go straight to your phone. We also have those back. No, I don't think we have these.
We do not have those.
But they're on our website.
Yep.
So if you want to grab that, you can. Next, we have our referral forms. For any of you that have clients that work with you, you're like, oh my gosh, I know somebody that could use these services. We have digital wellness referrals and mediation referrals. Those are back there, and if you want to take a picture of this QR code, that'll take it directly to your phone. So if you have clients that have a social media crisis, if they've been exploited online, if they're like just making bad choices, if you have clients, we talked to somebody at the beginning where you know, you have a client that was in a fight at school and people took their videos and they posted them online, like those types of things that happen a lot. Can you get it? Yeah. Go ahead, you can get over there. We got some time. Yes.
So if I take a picture, how do I get it?
So that's a PDF.
Well, it's not pulling up.
Oh,
Usually
if you go to our website, it'll be up
Website.
under resources. Right, Ellie?
Yes.
Yes, resources. Yep. And the last one I want to show you is the family digital plan. So this is like actually proactive thinking through families that are how are digital devices going to work in your homes. So this is something that you can download. You can share these with your clients. Everything is all available. It is copyrighted by us, but just our name's on it, so you can take it out there. All right, so the other things that we have available for your organization or request, we have these cards. These are like safety cards for students. So if you have coming in like the top things to know to stay safe. We have these for younger kids, and we also have them for parents for 0 to 5-year-olds. So we call that light tech parenting. We also have a presentation called Toddlers and Tech. And then I wanted to go to questions and comments. We got a couple minutes here, but just thanks to all of our amazing donors and partners. And after all of that, if you want to follow us on social media, It's right there. We have a really great social media presence. So it's real positive. It's like all the things in the research and everything else. So, and this is my information again. I'm Amie Konwinski. I'm the founder of Smart Gen Society. We have a pretty small staff of 10 out of the Omaha area, and we would love to work with you, your organizations, and any of your clients that you might have in the future. So I'm going to open it up to questions. Was this helpful?
Yes.
Awesome. The last thing you can do for me, if after asking questions, I think Seth's hand went up. I want you to take a QR code of this and give me some feedback. So I want to know, like, is this presentation worth your time? Is it something that you would suggest? And what can I do to make it better? So I've been doing this for a little while, and I'm gonna. Did you have your hand up, Seth? Oh, right here. Okay, yeah. I'll come back to you. Yes.
My question is just like, so my kid does the Minecraft thing, and I put his phone on downtime, but he had his school Chromebook and got on his school Chromebook and found a way around to do Minecraft there, and then was up all night talking to someone from Arkansas, but I have no idea who it was. Can the school see that? If I told the school, like what?
I would tell the school and have them shut down that capability and take the devices out of the room at night. That's the number one thing, take the devices. And that's what I call a sneaky Pete, right? So your kids will sneaky Pete around anything. Yeah, they're gonna do that. Yeah.
Well, I fell into the Discord trap with my 11-year-old because of playing games, and then her classmates did it. So I got shocked a couple weeks ago looking through it. And I thank you for making us say we're taking the shame and blame out. Because I've been feeling that for like almost a month now, and I'm like, okay. But I will be, well, I made her log out, but I'm glad I didn't delete it, like you said.
Yeah.
Because I might have to send some stuff.
Yeah. Call us, because
I said, I didn't raise this child.
oh, I know. It can be always something, right? So we would say, like, if you set the restrictions to 12 plus, it won't work. So the only way Discord will now work on the device if it's like set to 17 plus. So you can make it like nip it in the bud by just like putting it to 12 plus on like an iPhone or even your Android. So that's a good example. And then call us if you have any questions. All right, I'm gonna take as many questions as you want, but I know you guys are busy people. And I just want to, last thing is I wrote a book. It's called Unplug, and then the idea is to like take a 7-day challenge to unplug from your social media. And I want to give 2 of these away. So I'm going to ask, who here works in social work in Lincoln, Nebraska? Okay, I'm going to come over here. There you go. And then who here is SRO officer? Do you have any SRO officers? How about, what's that?
I work with them.
You work with SRO officers? Okay, I like that. Who here is a teacher? Middle school. Middle school teacher?
I just have to.
I'm gonna go right here. Okay, there you go.
Oh, great.
Awesome. And if you are interested in that, it's on our website. Again, thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. If you have individual questions, Ellie, my colleague, and myself is right here to answer those. So thank you so much.